Hey everyone, welcome back to Verified Gains. Happy Saturday. Hope everyone is having a good weekend so far. I want to dive right into the markets, continue our conversation from last time. Last week was a big week because there was a whole scare. Everybody was very scared about a glooming recession, which I understand. I understand the herd mentality, but we're different here at Verified Gains. And, looking at the big picture, I had bought the dip over and over again, about every other day, actually. So on every red day, I ended up buying the dip. And now it looks like we're recovering a little more. So I'm holding off on further dollar cost averaging. I'm just going to see what the trends are, and once we see once we see another red day, then I'm going to buy a little more. Okay, so going into the Bitcoin charts over here, first of all, the $78,000 line held very strongly. We had a little bit of scare over here on Tuesday, but then we rallied on Wednesday and we consolidated above it. So, this red candle followed by this green candle over here, you had 2 days of great opportunity to buy in. And now we're starting to head back into the dead man zone. And by the way, that's another key point I want to make. I get it. We're out of the trenches, but we're still not there yet. Me, everybody in the crypto community, me including, is ecstatic, very excited, maybe a little overexcited, but at the same time, we need to be level headed because we're still in the dead man zone. And I'm not going to be happy until we break above $98,000, this horizontal key resistance line, and consolidate above it, which essentially means we need to be back in the six-figure range, in the $100,000 range. Until then, everything is fair game. Now, in terms of macro news, I saw that um, perhaps the US president is receding some of the reciprocal tariffs on key sectors, including semiconductors. And, tech as a whole, I think we're going to continue seeing a large rally next week as a result of this news, while the majority of people are, still fixated on a gloom and doom prediction of recession. Everybody else, the smart money is and has reaccumulated already. And I think that's going to translate into cryptocurrency market in general. That is my humble opinion. When the tech sector does well, for some reason, people think that is related to crypto, and crypto ends up seeing the benefits as well. So that is what I'm predicting. Moving on to, and today I'm not going to cover traditional equities. I just want to focus on cryptocurrency. Moving on to Solana. So right now we're still in danger zone, but we did break above the key resistance line at $126 this morning. And so right now we're at 130, and this is great. Now, what we want to achieve this weekend is to close above and consolidate above $126 heading into Monday. That is our main goal. And I think we can make it happen because, the sentiment in general is starting to shift towards a bullish sentiment, believe it or not. And, this is a great opportunity to, for me to dollar cost average into Solana even more, getting paid next Friday. So 30% of my paycheck, per usual, will be going to Solana. And as part of my new strategy, also PopCat, right? And that is actually going to be the main discussion, the main asset that we're going to take a look at, PopCat. Always been a firm believer since I don't know, way back when. And I was starting to buy PopCat, like back in March of 2024. So sadly enough, the current price is actually the same as it was back, you know, 13 months ago, which is a little sad to think about, but I'll kind of, keep you guys up to date in terms of what I've been doing. So I had a pretty sizable position, back in March, and then in November of last year. So at that point, yes, we're like above $1. Actually, it was like around October. Okay, like around like $1.40, $1.50. I put in a huge amount of money into PopCat. So that's where the most of my accumulation came from. And then, as many of you guys know, and if you're a PopCat believer, as many of you have already experienced, there's a 80-90% drawdown. Very painful, but never sold. Never sold because the broader markets were receding anyways. So it wasn't something that was unique to PopCat or cryptocurrency as a whole. I knew this, and so there was no reason to sell because, um, you know, I do believe that it is going to bounce back up. Um, but of course, I cannot predict the price. So I don't know what the price will be exactly. But as long as it's a legitimate asset, and the reason I label as such is because it is listed on both Coinbase and Robinhood. And that is a very, very bullish thing to think about, to take into consideration. But in any case, I thought it was a legitimate asset. And anytime it's a legit asset, they do tend to revert back to its all-time high. And that was the video that I made about 8 days ago. And if you haven't watched that, please watch it and then watch this video again because I clearly explained my thought process. Um, and so, my thought process was, okay, well, I already have a large holding in PopCat. I'm already down, 80 to 90%. And, some may argue it's a sunk cost fallacy, but, my argument would be, well, it would be a 10x, 10 to 12x return just from the local bottom to the previous all-time high. So, from a financial perspective, as somebody who's an ultra risk taker, it makes perfect sense to buy in more. And that's exactly what I did. So 8 days ago, I started buying in right around the time of the Liberation Day news because I called the BS. Okay. I said time and time again, tariff is simply a tool. It's not a real thing that, that holds long term. Okay. This is not 1930s Great Depression. Okay. You guys have to forget about that. The world is much more globalized since then. People don't operate that way that we used to do 100 years ago. Okay. So I started buying in, it was actually April 2nd. I started buying in around the 18 cents mark and bought in every other day basically. And now my average price, so this is the new batch, right? So this is a different wallet, new batch, and the average price is around 17 cents on my second wallet. And, I've already seen a 50% return on the PopCat that I've, accumulated on the second wallet. Now, the first wallet is still down a whole lot, but, for now, I'm just going to focus on the second wallet because it's the new batch that I've been accumulating. Um, which, by the way, taken as a whole, we still need to be cautious, right? So we still need to be cautious. We still need to manage our risk for whatever that is worth. But we're still down a lot. So, hold your horses. Okay, calm down, me included. We're still down a lot. But from the current price of 28 cents back to the all-time high, we're still looking at a 5 to 6x return. Okay, and that is very exciting because I feel like at this point, as we're bouncing back up, the upside potential significantly outweighs the downside risk. And if you cannot see that, please just buy treasuries and bonds, okay? Because you're not made out for the crypto market. Um, Ultra risky. Trust me, it's ultra risky. But here at Verified Gains, we take risk for the best return in the market. Okay, that is our goal. 7 figures this year. Okay. So if you don't have enough asset to make 7 figures this year, focus on your primary job, focus on your taxable income, maximize that, and whatever money you're able to invest, invest it. And that is not financial advice, but that is what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm very excited about this bounce back, by the way. So we hit a low of around here, like 11.7 cents. And since then, we did come up around 153%. Okay. Now, could I have timed the bottom of this market? No. Did I buy some around the 12 to 13 cent mark? Yes. And that is the power of dollar cost averaging because I would have not been able to predict the bottom of this. But overall, the pricing did work out to be around 17 cents. Is a large holding? No, but I was actually able to buy about a little over 50% of my previous holding. And, that is also reflective of the power of discount because here and here, I actually did put in a significant amount of cash, but I was able to accumulate 50% of that previous holding at a fraction of the cost because it was at such a great discount. Um, in any case, the video is getting a little long, so I'm going to stop right here. But if you're buying PopCat, good for you. I hope you subscribe and continue to follow and comment down below if you are buying PopCat. I think it is the leader of cat meme coin and it's going to do very well. But once again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening in, and enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.